Okay, so we're going to be going over Article 5, Existent Concepts. Here we go. Article 5, the path to spirituality. On the path to the psychological spiritual barrier, we go through 4 phases outlined in the following Zohar portion. (195). Therefore, it is written, in the beginning, signifying fear, the Creator created the heavens and the earth. For whoever transgresses here, transgresses all of the Torah mitzvot, and his punishment is the evil scourge, i.e. the evil fear that whips him. The words, and the earth was unformed and chaotic, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of the Creator, refer to the 4 punishments of the wicked. 196. Without form refers to strangulation. Chaotic refers to stoning, i.e. the stones that fall into the great deep to punish the sinners. Darkness signifies burning, the fire that falls upon the heads of the wicked to burn them down. The spirit of the Creator refers to beheading. And the first commandment from the Zohar. Without form is the preparation to double concealment that we are physically born into, where we have no definition for spirituality. We are satisfied with the myriad of physical representations of spirituality. Chaotic is when we already have a clue, an idea what spirituality is, but we still mix it up with physical concepts. Our concepts are in a chaotic mess. This is the phase of double concealment. Darkness is when we have cleaned our concepts and understand and feel that we have no spirituality at all. There is a burning desire for spirituality, but it hurts because we feel the vessel side, the lack of our internal power. This is the preparation for single concealment. Spirit of the Creator is the last phase before we cross the barrier. This is when we do not care that we are not in spirituality. We only want spirituality with all our desires. We are thinking of the light, not the vessel that lacks the light. This is the phase of single concealment. Then we pass the first restriction, which is called the barrier. The path is simple, and that is why it is extremely difficult. It requires us to always focus on discernments. We need a genuine desire, and to not allow ourselves to be satisfied with external power, since that extinguishes our desire for internal power instantly. The feeling when we pass the barrier is living in 2 states simultaneously. We continue to live in our physical body while at the same time we live in our spiritual internal power. The more our power grows, the more tension we will have between being the Creator and our human form. This is why we need vessels of bestowal in order to withstand the resistance required for that much power. These states are identical to the 4 discernments of the direct light at the beginning of creation. All right, first question. How can we read the Zohar correctly? What rules can we apply to the reading? And we'll start with Davina.
I really don't have a clue, but I'm just going to step out there because I have a copy of the Zohar, and for some reason in my mind is that we should not study it alone, that we should study it in a group. Thank you.
Kevin.
I guess to not take it literally as, stories. And I know that you have to learn the language of branches, which is something I'm not that, don't know much about yet. But yeah, I think you have to have another vocabulary to approach it. And yeah, that's my thoughts.
Lee.
See yourself internally. All these are forces, and it's your internality.
Moshe.
I mean, when reading the Zohar, again, it's not talking about anything physical. It's just about states that you can experience. And if you start physicalizing these forms, then you have to ask yourself why, and then try to understand that it's not really physical at all. Again, it's just states that you got to experience. and that can create a lack of desire for you as well. You know, the fact that you're not there can create a lack for you because you just want to experience these things.
Nahama.
When we read the Zohar, it's not real stories, but we need to connect with the essence of the story. It's a kind of interaction that's taking place between me and I suppose me, with the intention of being corrected and connected, to be transformed. And I understand that this cannot be done alone. It has to be with a group. Yeah, that's it.
Patricia.
And as it's done with the group, I think it's something that we absorb. It's something that we absorb and we feel the sensations of it. It's not meant to be understood on an intellectual level. And also I think that it's for people, just my opinion, when you pass the barrier, then you'll be able to really understand it. Because right now, everything that we see, we're going to be confused and we're seeing it on the physical. But as our understanding our spirituality develops properly, it's only then we can really start to understand the Zohar. But for now, we just have to try to be clean as we possibly can at heart and absorb those sensations among us. Next.
Peter.
Well, I would venture to say that, well, the best way I understand it is when it's taught in the evening lessons, 8 o'clock in the Rav's class in Israel, because they read a portion of the Zohar, and then after they read it, he discusses it, clarifies, and then the students get up and ask questions. I would think that would be the best way to correctly do it. And I don't know about anything about the rules we can apply.
Rick.
I was saying that the Zohar is something that it is at this point definitely beyond my understanding. I catch pieces of it here and there. So I think that we need to go into our intention of why we're reading the Zohar. It's setting our intention to glean from it what we can and to ask for the Creator's help in comprehending it. And again, it's like the rule is that to get into that discernment, the scrutiny of it, you can't do it by yourself. You'd have to do it with friends. Thank you.
Robin.
All I know is that it's about you, it's about me, it's about, when you read it, you put in, it's about you. And like in this article, it starts in the beginning. And that means in the beginning of your spirituality. So you start from there and analyze it that way. That's what I got from this reading. And it's thrilling because these are forces, like it's been said, and it's about spiritual states. It's about, anyway, thank you.
Alan.
Yes, setting the intention to absorb the words and transform them to raise me to a new level.
First of all, I'd say that it's okay not to understand it. And as we grow, we'll see the parts that we start having a feeling for, and the parts we don't, and that will give us a clue that that we're actually advancing. On one hand, I'd say the rules is, number one, that it's talking about a person who's going through states. So it's not talking about any physical stories or, look, you see that person over there, look what he went through. It's always the Kabbalist who goes through these states. So even when it's talking about evil states or good states, it's always about a Kabbalist who has experienced it because he's attained it. Because just because I see somebody else going through something doesn't mean I've attained it. It might mean I've understood it, I've realized it, but only when I've gone through a state myself can I actually say that I've attained it. Just looking at a father doesn't mean you understand what being a father is. It's only when you've gone through that state of being a father, then you can understand and write about it and actually say that, oh, I've attained the state of being a father. So the same thing that Zohar is always talking about, a Kabbalist going through states and expressing in all these weird forms. Part of it is for concealment, so that people will not understand it before they're ready for it. But also because it's trying to look at many of the same discernments from different perspectives and different ways and different emotional points to express it more, to be more expressive about it. The second question, how can we help each other pass the barrier in this lifetime? Davina.
Definitely, everything is conducted within the group, and the part of the how the group works is to help the friends fulfill their desire, and not necessarily the corporality ones, but the ones for spirituality.
Kevin.
I'm gonna pass on this one.
Lee.
How can we help each other pass the barrier in this lifetime? It's a good one. Intention and doing all that we know, a composite of everything, of connection, of lessons, of study, etc., etc. Other than that, I don't know. I'm looking for something deeper than just what I know from the lessons. So, next.
Moshe.
I mean, it's just what we're doing here, right? It's to gain discernments together and basically create this support group for this goal. And we have to make sure that we're aligned correctly with this goal, first of all, and that we're directing all our efforts to it. And if we sort of stray off a bit, then we're not aligned. So it's important that we're all have a good awareness of the goal and know that it's going to be challenging along the way. But that's why there's people here that can help each other, help them go through states that they might have gone through, and that's how you can easily get to this goal, because you have others that are doing the same thing.
Nechama.
Last week was really very, very important to me. The last time we met, I was really going through a tough time. And while I was sharing, I was so afraid of realizing, because I was so aware of the responsibility, but that's exactly what you guys did. I felt that you were patient with me. I felt that you were encouraging me. I felt safe. I felt I could trust you. And I felt a kind of envy, because I felt that you all know it and I don't. But I just want to tell you, I've experienced your support last week.
Patricia.
She just described us seeing the greatness in one another. Sometimes we're the student, sometimes we're the teacher to one another. And through our mingling and coming together, we're able to see the whole picture and not just little parts and sections of it. We're able to reveal the creator when we come together because we're able to see the whole picture. So through our mingling and our time that we spend together, you know, and the points connecting, that's how we help one another over. Thank you.
Peter.
Well, we have to help our friends to cross the barrier. And one thing that stops us is fear. So, to my understanding, there are 3 types of fear. There's the fear of punishment and reward in this world. Then the second is the fear of punishment in the afterlife. The third one, which is interesting, is the fear of the creator. And that fear is driven by, have I done enough for the creator, as opposed to a relationship of punishment. Because the creator doesn't condemn, he convicts. But so here we have this idea of, have I done enough for the creator, which will help us to lift ourselves up. So we have to support our friends in that. And if we see that in others, where their fear is, maybe we can move them to have the proper fear, which is the fear the creator wants to have, which is the fear of whether we've done enough for the creator. If we can do that for ourselves and for our friends, then we can hopefully cross the barrier.
Rick.
I feel it starts with our goals. Unity, connection, revelation, adherence to the creator to start. But then it goes into our friends, because that's our tool, our pathway in a way to get there. This is what makes it real for us. And that means I have to find a way to empower you. I have to find whatever it takes to make you a success. For without your success, I am a failure. Thank you.
Robin.
Oh, my head's spinning. Hearing all these great things. My mind first went back to our last session when we talked about you have to be totally open and come to the group that way and share exactly what, and be open to the friends and be open to expressing yourself. Because what discernments and wisdom you may have, that's what connects, that's what helps, and that's what we share in the group. And if it's all open and honest, the flow happens, and like Nechama said, that we all benefit from each other.
Alan.
Open that pipe. If what flows in doesn't flow out, you have a clog. So you've got to unclog it and let it flow to the friends. And I find carefully worded questions to which I demand the answer from the Creator greatly enable the process for me to give you what He thinks you should have.
There are two things we need help with. One is what we call the heart, which is the emotional support. That we need to connect and support each other emotionally and open up to each other and show that we're not alone on this path, that we're actually going through this path together, because many times we'll feel that stress or that fear that we're alone, and that emotional connection, bond, really can help us get through tough times and help us understand we're not alone, that we actually have friends we can talk to and contact if we need any help, That would be the first part. The second part is the mind. And that's how we clean concepts. And we need both of them, because the more we have an emotional bond, the more the cleaning concepts will actually go through us and actually, go deep and influence us the way we want it to be. So you'll have many people that will either do the emotional connection without cleaning concepts, or they'll try to clean concepts without the emotional bond, and then it doesn't seep through. It's like, it would be like me suddenly taking someone on the street and starting cleaning his concepts. Like, he doesn't know me, there's no emotional bond, there's no connection. How will he remember anything I say to him? So you need that double, two-pronged attack of both doing an emotional bond with people and cleaning concepts at the same time. The third question: why is it important we learn the phases before the barrier? Davina.
To begin to understand the concept of how the Creator reveals himself to us. I know this is the hardest thing for me to discern and understand, is the different phases of light and all the different phases and their complexities. Somehow I'm not able to make them all gel or hold them in my mind. But I know that it is an important part of understanding. In other words, I don't think any of us would try to get in a car and drive without some type of understanding of what we're doing.
Kevin.
Yeah, I would guess it would be like some type of preparation for advancement as we enter into these different feelings and states. It's good to have some type of understanding of what they are before, in my view.
Lee.
It seems that one would be lost if how would they cross the barrier, one, without understanding the phases, and two, if you could cross the barrier without the phases, understanding the phases, how would you know where you were at? My thought. Next.
Moshe.
Well, I mean, for many reasons, but just a few. Again, it's just a map, right? It's a map of where you're going, and you want to know the road. And I could say, and I'd actually like to add, it's probably even good to know a couple of steps past the barriers to know what to expect. Again, it's just a matter of preparation. It's good to know where you're going and to know where you've been, and that helps you and others as well.
Nechama.
Knowing these 4 stages is really important. If we can recognize where we are, I can clean the concepts on that stage, and we can then concentrate on our discernments on crossing the barrier.
Patricia.
You have to experience them in order to pass the barrier. So it's something you have to experience. It's like, how can you go to step 4 if you haven't went through steps 1 through 3? So it's something that you have to experience in order to cross the barrier. That's how the system is. There's no way of getting around that. So,
Peter.
Well, when we understand the phases, we understand that it's at that point that the creature decided that it couldn't accept the light and created the barrier, which is shame, first restriction. So you have to understand how that process happened. Like, I can get in my car and drive it, but it's probably better if I know a little bit more about it. Like, what's going on under the hood. So we as human beings, as creatures, we as human beings, we need to know the fundamental of everything that we do. Not necessarily its essence, but at least it's fundamental. We need to know that that's just the way we work, and in this case, it's since we're dealing with our soul, or we're dealing with connecting with the Creator, becoming the thought of the Creator. This is probably the most important thing we need to know before we can reconnect.
Rick.
The phases for the barrier is the emanations and appellations of the Creator. So as it comes down, we start to see the structure that he's building with the 10 Sephirot. So what this does is it unites our mind with his mind and starts to give us a bit of the concepts of who he is in that light, what the light is about. We can't feel his essence, but we can feel him through the light that he's shining on us. That's the best I got for the moment. Thank you.
Robin.
We need to know these stages because we experience them, first of all, and there are also stages that we'll continue going through at different levels. So after the barrier. And so we need that experience. We need to know what it is. It's part of the system. We need to know the system, and because we exist in a system.
Alan.
These phases, they come from those who walk the path before. If we want to add to those phases to create something new, we must understand them as a foundation to which we will build on a structure that has the proper intention.
I would say it's a bit like parenting. There's some people that learn what it is to, how to be a parent before they're a parent. And then when they become a parent, it's much easier for them to handle all the different situations they're thrown into. But if they don't learn before, when they have to go through the experiences themselves, they're thrown from side to side and they have no clue where they're going. And it's harder for them to go through those phases. You don't have to know these phases in order to pass the barrier. But if you know these phases, they can very well help you, especially since they repeat themselves. So it's not just you go through the 4 phases and that's it. On each phase, it has sub-phases and sub-phases. So you'll see yourself going through these changes emotionally, and you're able to know, okay, everything's fine. I'm now in darkness. Okay, everything's fine. I'm now in spirit. Oh, okay, everything's fine. I'm in unformed or chaotic. You can see yourself moving forward precisely by going on these ups and downs. But because these ups and downs are fixed and structured, you can feel that it's okay. I'm moving forward. I'm learning. I'm advancing. Actually, things are going well. Even if I feel they suddenly fall every time I go on a new phase, which is unformed, and I suddenly, I become unformed. I don't know where I'm going. Then you can actually be, okay, fine, I'm unformed on a new phase. I have to learn about it now. And then I'm going to go through chaotic, and then I'm going to go through darkness and then spirit, and I'm going to feel great with myself, and then fall again and reach that unformed. So by having this sort of flow chart, it's much easier to handle the stress and tension we go along the path. Here's the diagram. So we can see here how on the version numbers are normally decided like so. You could be 2.2.2. So that would be 2 in chaos, and then a sub phase of chaos and a sub phase of chaos. But the overall, so the major number, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, is going through unformed, which is what we read in the Zohar portion, which is strangulation, which means that you feel that you don't have any air. What happens when someone strangles you? When someone strangles you, you don't have air, and air is all chasadim, which is the light of mercy. So you feel that you just don't have anything to move forward with. When you're able to get through that, then you get to chaos. Chaos is stoning. You're also being stoned with discernments, but also a stone in Hebrew is even, which is from the word Havana, which is understanding. So you're going through these conflicts of understanding and sorting out your discernments. Then when you finish sorting out your discernments, then you pass the double concealment of that phase, and you reach single concealment, which is darkness. And you feel the sensation of burning, like when your spouse is gone away, and that time when she's gone away or he's gone away, you feel that burning sensation of, oh, why is he not with me? So you feel that they're not here. Well, when you reach the spirit phase, that's beheading, where you feel that you have no head. That's what it means when someone cuts off your head. That you have no head, you have no calculation. And that's the idea that when we get our screen, we're able to do the calculation of the light. So if you feel that you're beheaded, that means you understand what you need as a screen to able to pass the barrier. And then your desire is for that screen to get it. And you actually feel that need for that screen to do that calculation of the light. So we go through all these phases, and we go through these phases also in each phase. So you could be in chaos and go through unformed chaos, darkness, and spirit. And then when you finish reaching spirit of that chaos, then you reach darkness and you start unformed chaos, darkness, and spirit. And then the same thing again, unformed chaos, darkness, and spirit. And then you can pass the spiritual barrier. Any questions?
You're not so much speaking of corporeal darkness, or you're saying, or is it overlapping, a combination where you're feeling it in your spirit or in your emotions, as well as events in your life here in corporeality?
It's emotional. So the thing is that actually when you enter the darkness stage, reality sort of sorted itself out. You stop getting external hits, and they tend to be more internal hits, and you feel internal pain. And that's actually when you need the support of the group the most, because things aren't happening, or even if they're happening in reality, you're not focused on that. You're focused much more on that sensation of burning of, why am I not in spirituality? And that's where you're feeling or your emotion. And that's where you need the society and the group and the friends the most. It's the toughest phase of emotional feeling is in darkness. In spirit, it's more you don't burn because you're not there. You just want it. It's like meeting your girlfriend at the airport. You're not burning that you haven't met her yet. You're excited. You're running towards it. I'm going to meet her any moment. She's going to come out, in the terminal and meet me. You're not burning anymore. You're just excited about what's going to happen, and you're just moving forward as much as you can without that burning emotion. And there it actually becomes a different kind of a different kind of difficulty, because instead of being an emotional difficulty, it becomes a difficulty where you have to push yourself forward, even though you don't feel that emotional need, that emotional darkness burning effect.
You're needing more discernments, possibly, in the spirit, or that's what you're lacking?
Yeah, it's not just having the discernments, but pushing yourself forward, even though you feel no immediate need to actually move forward, since you're not burning, you're not having problems, not externally or internally.
Zakai, something you said one time what really rang with me, that along this path, basically, it's like, you want to reach the 50th gate, and it's like you said, you don't come out there with knives and like ready to attack. He says that's not how the Creator works. He says the Creator actually fights you with pleasure. That all along this way, that actually you receive more and more pleasure, basically to a point, at any point you can just be like, I'm good here, and I plateau, and it's a crazy thing to think about, that along this way, it's not like it gets harder, more difficult. It's because you have more pleasure, and it's like, and that's how he pushes you away almost,
Exactly. He pushes you away with pleasure. But that pleasure can come in two forms. That pleasure can come in pleasure of having pain, because pain is also pleasure, because when you're having pain, you feel that you're alive. And if someone's beating you up, on one hand, you're feeling pain, but on the other hand, you're alive, because someone who's dead doesn't feel pain. So he attacks with both kinds of pleasure, the pleasure of pain and the pleasure of pleasure. of enjoyment.
When do those three states repeat? Chaos, darkness, and spirit. How does that work?
Well, in each phase, they repeat themselves. So basically, you start in the spiritual society normally in 2.1.1. You're in chaos. You're at the beginning of chaos. So here's humanity. Right, if we're looking on the major number, so humanity is between 1.1 and 1.4, and then you've got the spiritual society. You start from 2.1, which is in chaos, and you move forward. Most people in the society, if they're not cleaning any kind of concepts, they plateau at 2.2 because it's just so in chaos that they just have no. It's so chaotic that they don't even know it's chaotic. It's like double chaotic. And then if someone starts cleaning their concepts, telling them what the real goal is, and so on, then they can start moving into 2.3 and then 2.4. And once their basic concepts are cleaned, then they can move into darkness because they already understand what is spirituality, what is not spirituality, and feel that dichotomy that, I know what it is, but I don't have it. Or I would say, I know what it's not. And I feel that I'm not there. I'd say it's like a roller coaster. It's like going on a ride, and you can go on a roller coaster in two ways. You can either know how the ride looks, and then you can prepare for it, or you can not learn about how the ride looks and just go on it and give it a go. And then you get your head hit from side to side because you don't know that you're meant to put your head now to the left or the head down to the right. Or you can learn about the ride and then say, oh, now I'm put my head on the left, put my head on the right, and actually enjoy the entire roller coaster ride instead of being hit on the side like that. When you don't know that where the ride is going to take you. So these phases are just to tell us where the ups and downs are. This is basically the roller coaster ride that we're going to go through before the barrier, and then by learning it, we can actually prepare for it, and it'll be easier to handle.
Why is chaos and unformed double concealment, and the other two are single? How does that? It's a distinction.
So the idea of double concealment is that you don't even know that you're concealed. And then single concealment is that you're in concealment. So it would be like before you know about the law of gravity, you're in double concealment. You might be using the law of gravity, right? But you're not aware it's a law. And then when you learn about the law of gravity, you could say you're in single concealment because you understand you still don't have control over it. So it's a learning process. And then when you have control over it, then you could say you go into single revelation, which is really when you can use it to reach space. And then double revelation is, steps further.
So chaos, you never know you're in chaos then. That's double concealment. You're never aware, no matter what level of chaos, you're never aware that you're in chaos. Or you're in denial about it?
So I'd say that in chaos, it's hard to see yourself in chaos. It would be normally somebody else who's gone through it would tell you're in chaos. But when you're in darkness and spirit, you're already aware of it. It's called, you have the letters of the Torah. You already are aware where you are, and you can actually see. It's not just someone says, oh, by the way, you're in 3.1, which is, unformed darkness. You can actually feel, I feel that I'm in 3.1. It's not just someone telling you, oh, you're advancing. You can actually see you're already in darkness. You can already see the faces on yourself, and you're not just having to trust somebody else giving you version numbers. You can give the version numbers to yourself and compare and contrast accordingly.
So in each one of those phases, there's like a 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4. Is that the way it works?
Exactly, and it even goes like deep. It's like numbers. So you could have 3.1.2, 3.1.3, and so on. So it just basically depends on how deep you go and what level you can feel that sensation.
Oh, I didn't see that in any document. Do you have something that you could point us to or could read about it?
But it's just the phases that repeat. So
what would be the
most
difference?
I've seen is 3 levels. So you can have 3.1.1. I haven't seen any deeper than that, but there probably is. It just depends, how.
How would I feel if I'm in like 3.1 as opposed to 3.2? How would I know the difference, or do I even need to know the difference?
I would say that in the in darkness, you wouldn't need the third decimal. You'd need the third decimal in spirit, because then it's dealing with more minute changes. So in darkness, I'd say in chaos and darkness, it's more grandeur changes, and in spirit, it becomes more smaller changes. It's more delicate, and that's why you need the sub numbers to to see where you are in that sub phase of that phase.
How do you see where you are in that phase? How do you see that?
Well, the idea is that unformed is when you enter a new phase. So when you're entering a new phase, you feel like you have no clue where you are. That's unformed. When you start trying to figure out where you are and start understanding, the scope of the phase, that's when you're in chaos. And you don't know, wait a second, what is the difference between my previous phase, my next phase? You get into chaos of that. When you pass into darkness, that's when you understand where you are totally, but you also understand where you're not, but you don't know how to actually get there. And that's that darkness feeling, that sensation of burning, of like, I know where I need to go, but I don't know what I have to actually do to get there. And when you get those extra discernments, then you reach spirit where, okay, I know why I'm not where I am, and you start actually doing what you need to do in your discernments to actually get there, and then pass into the next phase. And then it repeats in each one.
One of the books, the BB books, said that you don't recognize the stage that you're in. It's only when you're out of that stage you know where you came from. That you never have a clarity of the stage you're in while you're in it. It's only after you leave that stage that you understand what stage you just came from, that the stage ahead of you is never known to you until after you're out of it.
So that would be where you reach, so you could say so when someone enters a phase, right, he enters, you could say, the root of that phase, which is not written here, but that is in each phase, because you have 5 discernments, because you have 4 phases and one hidden one, which is the root. So every time you enter a phase, you're entering that root part, where you just have no clue and you can't see it at all. Somebody else might see that you've suddenly changed, but you can't see on yourself. So you can only actually see that you've entered a new phase when you reach the unformed. You feel you're unformed. It's not that you're unformed. You actually feel that you're unformed. These are things you're feeling. You're feeling you're unformed. You're feeling that you're in chaos. You're feeling you're in darkness. You're feeling you're in spirit.
I know when I was working, say, for instance, at the hospital, someone would come into the ER and they say, oh, I feel like they've diagnosed themselves. And, without having really trained to do that. And a lot of times they'll just come and say, this is the way that I feel. And my big concern, at least in my situation, is at what point do I trust my feelings? It's like love. Is it infatuation or is it love? Time will tell, I guess. However, I don't know. I just think like there's this huge risk to say, oh, I'm in 2.3. Or, maybe someone who's been there can make that discernment. But I don't know. I just feel like somehow I don't have that ability or that discernment about myself, because, we all lie to ourselves. Sometimes we make ourselves more than what we are, and other times we make ourselves less than our potential. And so sometimes we're our own worst enemy. How can you control that aspect of yourself when it comes to trying to discern where you may not be?
I feel that's why it's critical to have an environment and friends. I would say normally version numbers aren't discussed in a group setting. They're normally discussed with friends one-on-one. And again, it's an experience. It's a path. It's very easy. Sometimes when I tell people about the version numbers, they either say their version numbers above. They're like, oh, I'm 5.6, which doesn't even exist. Or they say, I'm I'm 4.3. They don't want to say 4.4 because that's too close. They're like, I'm really right near the end. So, of course I'm 4.3. And, I would say no one puts them in self in darkness because, who wants to feel you're in darkness? So I think that's why it helps to discuss it with a close friend and start sharing and saying, am I good? Am I feeling this? And you might decide, I don't know where I am, and that's okay as well. Probably means I'm in some kind of double concealment, and I'll just continue going. And when I can know where I am, then I'll start able to give myself version numbers. It's like, people might upgrade their computer system and they don't know which Windows version they have. I was doing tech support, and I'd ask people, what Windows do you have? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'd have to give them like visual cues to ask them, do you have a start button? What color is it? What shape is it? And they're like, well, it's round. Does it have any text next to it? It's like, no. Oh, so you have Windows 7. It's sort of that kind of thing. And so a discernment of not knowing what version number I am is also a discernment. And it's a valid discernment to have. And it's okay as well. Because then when you do know where you are, then you're able to actually see, okay, at least I know that beforehand I wasn't, and now I know where I am. And that's a great discernment to have in an advancement, because if you don't go through that double concealment of, I don't know what this means, many people, they'll read something. Let's say the Zohar. You read the Zohar portion. You're like, I understand exactly what that means. That first of all means you probably don't know what it means because you haven't gone through the double concealment of not having a clue what it means, and then going through the single concealment saying, I really don't understand what this means. And when you've gone through those stages, then when you do understand what it means, you've got that contrast. And most people want to skip that contrast, and they immediately want to say, oh, of course I understand what it's talking about. It's talking about, walking with a donkey and, talking about Shabbos and stuff. Like, of course, that's what that's what it's talking about. It's a story. What, you think I can't read? I can read English. And it's like, no, you have no clue what it's talking about. And you have to go through those emotional phases of, I have no clue what this is talking about. Then going to, I understand now why I don't understand what it's talking about. And then you can understand what it's talking about. And so by going through these phases, it's actually a great sign, because people that, just want to skip and say, I passed the barrier, they probably haven't, because they haven't gone through that double concealment and single concealment part.
I think through studying Kabbalah, we get confirmation. Kabbalah is the one thing that can be tested. So when the group comes together, when we come together and mingle and connect, you will get confirmation. You'll get the answers to questions that you have had in your mind that you didn't even know you had in your mind. Because when we connect, by ourselves, we can never see the whole picture. But when we come together as a group, we're able to discover whatever it is that we were trying to discern on our own, we discover when we come together in the group. So I think that if you're not sure about what stage you're on, I think that when we come together, eventually you'll get a clear picture of who you are through everyone else, through our mingling.
I totally agree with that. That's what, the group is very important for us to have contrast to know where we are. And, in a group, it's important to have people, you could say, that are below your phase and above your phase to give you that contrast. It's like if everyone's growing and going through the phases exactly together, which won't happen. But let's say, people would, put themselves in a imagination that we're all going to go through these phases, exactly at the same time. You have no contrast to know that you've actually grown a lot, because you come back to the group. Let's say, in your imagination, the whole group has been upgraded to the same phase as you. How do you know? How would you differentiate? So it's when you feel that distance, like, wait a second, I say the group's still talking, in this way, and I'm already thinking in a different way, then you can start to feel that change. And another important thing is that you can only go up in the phases. You can't fall. So while you can fall into a descent or fall into a plateau, but when you catch yourself back up and are able to restore yourself, then you continue from the version number you have. So no one can ever fall from 4.3 to 2.2. What they can do is plateau maybe in 4.3, but when they get themselves back on their feet, they can continue on. That's the concept of, there's no fallback in spirituality, that you can only grow up, you can't fall down.
I don't know. I've never had a great desire to really chase that concept, to think of where I'm at. I just, I come to work and, work with the friends, learn the concepts, not seek you know, where I'm at as far as a degree or anything. It's just a state I'm going through or a phase I'm going through that's going to change. And I look for those changes, but I don't look for I'm a 2.2 or a 1.4 or 1.3 or whatever. It's unimportant to me.
I'd say the advantages of the version numbers that I've seen so far is, number one, it causes envy between the friends. Because if someone's on a higher version number than you envy them. You have actually something to grasp onto. It's not just, oh, he's a nicer person in this world, which, you know, in spirituality doesn't matter at all. You actually have something more concrete to hold on to. Another thing is that it gives that stress, that tension of responsibility. It's like, whoa, I'm actually getting close. This is getting serious. And that can give you that additional tension that you need to move forward. And again, it's like, it depends on the person. Some people will say, I don't care about the version numbers. I've heard that many times. And then they'll come back later and they'll be like, wow, it's actually very nice to know what version number I am, because it explains, why I'm experiencing what I'm going through. So
if I can clarify what you're saying, Zakai, is the number system, the advantage is to create spiritual envy / tension. Because I've never thought of where am I before I was introduced to this number system, or the introduction or understanding that I'm gaining. I don't have a full understanding of it thus far, but like Rick, I came here I am, this is the place I got to be, and, trying to clean my system, my concepts and my system.
So I'd say a few things. It's a bit like, when you're going through university, right? You still don't have a job. You're going through your degree, your years of degree, right? And someone says I'm in the third year and the other person says I'm in the second year. Both of you don't have a job. So it's not like someone can say in the third year, I'm better than all of you. You can't say that because he doesn't have a job either. You're not actually giving to society. You're not actually, doing any service. You could say passing the barrier is like getting a job. So before you have a job, it doesn't matter from a spiritual perspective what degree you are. It matters for your own perspective where you are, because you know what to deal with next. So, if you know you're in chaos, you know that you need to clean your concepts more. And if you're in darkness, it's always about cleaning concepts, but it's what kind of concepts. And it's basically to, like, when you're going through something, it allows you to emotionally understand, okay, it's okay that I'm going through this fall. Because, sometimes we'll go through this phase where everything was great and dandy, and then suddenly we feel like totally lost, totally unformed. We wake up in the morning and we feel like, where am I? Like, what, I've lost everything? And it's like, no, you just reached a new phase. Congratulations. Welcome to Unformed. So it doesn't mean that if you don't know the phases, you won't go through them. You'll go through them anyway. What these phases allow you is to sort of know it's okay to go through these ups and downs, and that there's actually structure to them. And it's not just, randomly entering, the stuff. And especially when you go to higher numbers, you can actually sort of able to see more of the structure. So at the beginning, you might just see yourself going through these, but you don't actually know what the major number is. So you'd be like, okay, I just woke up in the morning, I feel unformed. Perfect. Now I'm going to start, reading some material, understanding stuff. And then I see I'm in chaotic. I just have no clue what, how this fits in to the picture. And then when I, pass that, I'm like, oh, I actually understand something, but I feel I'm in darkness because, I don't actually have a full grasp on it. But I already understand that I don't have a grasp on it. And then when you're in spirit, you're like, oh, I actually grasp this concept, I actually understand this concept. And then you'll feel that next fall. But you can expect it already. You can be aware of it, and you can pre-plan it, you could say, talk with the friends about it. And, when you go into this fall, you won't feel like, oh, the society sucks, I'm leaving. You could be like, oh, of course, I'm meant to go through this unformed phase. So it's okay for me to go through this descent. Why don't I contact a friend and he can help me through it? And it's not like you have to actually share the numbers if you want to or not. The idea is that you can know what you're going through, and then when you're contacting the friend, you know what you're actually needing from the friend to help you with. Again, it's an accessory, and each person decides what he wants to do with it, if he wants to use it or not.
Well, that's basically the thing I was going to just say. Was what you said at the end, is that it would be up to the individual, because I see where you're coming, why you're stating what you're stating, but I see people's states by the way they make, by the feelings I get from them. I envy those who expound what I want to become, and whether their state, they may come up with something from a state much lower than mine, as well as someone who is much higher. If my perception at that moment is prepared to see what they're saying and bring it in and use it for myself. And as far as seeing individuals, and understanding their state is above mine, whether I know it or, their degree or not, like I said, it's just feeling that and, internalizing that and striving to be more like that.
I'd say there's another important thing. When we see any kind of categorization, our first initial thing is a scare. We're like, whoa, you actually start categorizing. I thought we're all equal before the barrier, and, what is this all about? But the thing is that when you put someone in a certain, let's say you label someone with a certain version number that you perceive that he probably has. First of all, the idea is to be flexible with these numbers. They can change. You see someone, you've changed his number. You might have got it wrong, and that's fine as well. But when you assign a version number, we already do it to humanity, for example. So we already make a distinction between people which are in the society that have a point in the heart. That means they're in the 2.1 and above phase, to people which are outside of the society, which are in humanity. So you might be like, well, we're all equal. What does it matter? Well, it matters in the way you talk to someone. So when you're talking to someone in humanity, you're not going to say, so how's your point in the heart feeling? I love your point in the heart. He's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're a crazy person. So by actually categorizing and saying, okay, he's from 1.1 to 1.4, just saying he's phase 1, then I know I probably shouldn't talk to him about the importance of the society, and I shouldn't talk to him about the point in the heart. So you're already making that distinction already. The idea of these distinctions is not to start, bragging rights, sort of, I'm phase 3, I don't have to listen to you. It's like, no, you have to listen to everyone. And even, even Rav Lightman, which is above the barrier, will still listen to what the students have to say. He's not going to be like, oh, what do you know? You're below the barrier. But when he hears what the student will say, he will know how to convert it accordingly and what to get from it. So when someone in phase 1 says something, I don't be like, oh, you're in phase 1, why should I listen to you? I listen to everybody, but the way I deal with it and the way I internalize it is going to be different. So if someone in phase 1 says the society sucks, probably not going to listen to him too much. But if someone in phase 2 says it, I might give it more attention. If someone says life is amazing, it depends what phase he's talking from. If he's talking from phase 1, it doesn't help that you think that life is amazing, because your life, what is amazing for you is not amazing for me. So for you, it might be amazing to get that that feeling of security and just happiness, while for me it's more about I want to actually get somewhere. So the thing is that we're actually judging reality all the time. When you go into a supermarket, you're choosing one product over the other. That doesn't mean you're correct. Your perception is wrong. If I choose if I choose Heinz ketchup instead of another brand, it doesn't mean that my perception is wrong. It just means I've made a calculation of what talks to me mostly, not just in the ingredients, but also emotionally by advertisement, what my friends have, and so on, and I make a decision. So we're judging reality all the time. You're here. Why aren't you somewhere else? We're always making these decisions, and the idea is not to be scared of making these decisions consciously. So many of our decisions we make unconsciously. The idea is to bring it consciously and not be scared that you're judging, because the defining of where someone is not damning them to hell or damning them to life. It's just making clarity, giving clarity to yourself, seeing where you are, taking away the fog. And many times we cling onto the fog because it scares us. We don't want to advance. We don't want to make that clarity and see where we are. It's like, you're giving me a map. I don't want to have a map. I just want to drive forward. It's like, yeah, but if you have GPS, it might actually help you, when you go into tough spots. It's like, no, you're going to judge reality. I'm just going to go straight forward and just do what I'm told. And it's like, a map can be very helpful. And it's just another instrument to help us along the way.
Yeah, I'm feeling Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the first commandment, because this whole idea of fear, different corporeal fear, these different levels of fear. How does this interplay with what we're discussing now?
We said that, the first two fears are the fear of the first fear is the fear of this world, that someone's going to come, arrest me, for example, or hit me, or something's going to happen in this world, right? Or, something's going to happen to my family if I don't advance. Like, that's the corporeal fear, and that's the first fear, and Kabbalists, say that's not a real fear, or not a real spiritual fear. You've got the second fear, which is, I'll lose my my next world. We've got the story of the Baal Shem Tov, where he was, he got that thought that, I've lost my next world, and he's like, great, now I can actually start working. I don't have to deal with that anymore, because I've been told I've lost it, and great, now I can actually start advancing spiritually, because I don't have to worry about will I have it or not have it. And it's also, the funny thing is that the next world is still a corporeal fear, because you still think of it as another place. Oh, I'll be somewhere else, and then you're like, I'm not in this world. I'll, suffer in hell, which is another place, or I'll suffer in heaven, which is another place, or be in heaven, enjoy it another place. Those are both actually corporeal fears, because you're thinking of being in another reality. And then you have the spiritual fear, which is the correct fear to have, is the fear of plateau, that I won't advance. That I'll basically hit a desire or a memory, or a rishimo, which will basically freeze me in my current degree and won't allow me to move forward. And that's when I'll need the books, the teacher, the friends to help me to get over that hurdle of myself. So I'll hit a fear of, whoa, this is too much responsibility. And then I'll just throw everything off and I'll say, there is no attainment. There is no, they all lied. It's just a psychology trick. And you just convince yourself to go deeper and deeper into that shell because you're just so afraid of the responsibility. Or you feel that, your teacher is you're actually dependent on him. And then you're scared of that and you throw that away. It's like, who doesn't matter if Rav Lightman is my teacher? There's other teachers out there. Who says there's only one? And, you start talking to other friends and convincing yourself with excuses like, yeah, there can't be just one Kabbalist in the world. There must be others. I'll start looking. You don't actually look. You say to everyone, I'll start looking. And then you just go deeper and deeper into that shell. So that's the fear. The correct fear to have is, what if I hit this rishimo, this memory? They'll just get me stuck in my tracks and I won't be able to move forward. And the idea of that fear is to not make you freeze, because that's a shell, but to motivate you to actually invest more into the environment. Because the only way to get out of these hard rishimos, these hard memories, is actually investing in the environment to save me. When if I suddenly come and say, I think I've had enough, I'll take it slow. And then someone will say, no, what are you talking about? I really believe in this path and, we should actually do it. And you might not agree with them, immediately, but then you wake up the next day and you're like, what was I thinking? Of course this is the right path to be in. That is because you invested in the environment prior. But if you didn't, you think, I can do this alone. I don't need anybody's help. You hit that kind of rishimo, you're lost. Or you think you've invested in the society, but you haven't invested correctly. You've invested more in a managerial perspective, but haven't actually invested emotionally. And then the society can't actually save you because you're so convinced that you know what is right. And, I don't have to learn the books. I don't have to learn the method. It's just an emotional connection. And just by that, I'll reach it and stuff like that. And you just get stuck in that rishimo and you plateau for, it could be, a few days. It could be a few weeks, could be a few months, and could be a few lifetimes. So the environment is crucial to help us through those descents, you could basically say. And that's the correct fear to have, the correct fear of, what if I plateau?
Can I confirm that? Because that just actually happened to me. As much as we hear this, that this will happen to you, be prepared, you get blindsided. I'm so afraid of myself that you get blindsided. And when you're in that fog, you really believe yourself. And when you come out of it, it's a very scary thing to realize that I actually believed myself. And luckily the people around me who I was popping off to they knew I was confused and in confusion. So it really does happen. And it's important that you do have connections, like, deeper connections that will be there to help wave you that, you're confused. We're here.
So that reshimo can keep you locked for maybe even a lifetime. I mean, how do we confront that? I mean, that's it's a spiritual memory or a corporeal memory or both.
It's a spiritual memory. It's an emotional memory. It's not
Right.
it's not that you walk outside and you can't get out of your house kind of thing. It's more like you can't get out of your internal house, your house of desires. You're locked in. You don't have a key, and the key are the friends. It's the lock and the key Zohar portion where the key is the environment, the friends, and you need them to unlock your door. It would be a great idea to actually get the key before you lock yourself in, because then you can actually unlock yourself. But if you don't have the key, you're stuck until someone actually realizes you're locked and they can actually come and save you.
Is that the only way we can escape it? I mean, considering this path is so powerful, we would be able to, to be able to see the cause behind that block or that reshimo.
Sometimes you can't, and that's precisely why. That's precisely why you have to, invest in the environment as much as your desire is. So, and that's the advantage of actually having an environment, because it's always going to be bigger. So you could say it's more, at the beginning, it's more quantity, and you have to invest quality into those relationships, and then they can actually, come back and help you. So it's not just about having one friend. It's like when you have a house, you have a few keys. So you give one to, let's say your mother-in-law, and you give one to your wife and one to yourself. So, if suddenly your key breaks, I actually had that situation where, the key broke and you can't get yourself out. And then you call up someone, come get me out of my house. And then you get a friend to come and replace the key, replace the lock, I mean. So what will decide if you can handle a situation is how strong your environment is. And the environment includes not just friends, but also the books and also the Rab, the teacher, the lessons. If you disconnect from these and think, you know what, it's very nice. I've got a strong friend. I don't need the teacher anymore. I don't need the books anymore. I don't need the group anymore. I can actually advance. And then you plateau for 4 months in a phase. And the idea is that if you keep all those things intact, and many times when you advance, you'll suddenly feel that this is useless anymore. I don't need these friends. I'm above them. I'm on a higher version number. They're all still stuck in confusion. What do I need them for? You need them because when someone can save you, even if they're on a lower version number. So it's not just you need a higher version number to save you. A lower version number can save you as well. They're external to you. They're not locked in your same reshimo. They're not locked in your memory. So it doesn't matter what version number they are, they can save you. And it's very important to invest in everyone that you can, because you don't know when you're going to hit this reshimo. Because when it hits you, you're already in it, and you're blocked in it. It's like fog, and you don't even know you're in fog, right? It's like you think you're drunk. It's like driving drunk. You don't think you're drunk. I'm fine. I can make it home, right? And then you need a buddy to say, look, you're drunk. Let me take you home. But if you don't have that buddy, that friend to help you, good luck driving you home drunk.
Well, here's something I was just thinking. So when Adam's soul, because of the amount of light, is split into 600,000 souls, and then those 600,000 souls have split, and now we're down to we have 7 billion people in the world. So part of my soul, when I'm with the 10, part of my soul is in everyone else. Right. So if I'm dealing with the reshimo on my spiritual level, it's my soul that's affected by that. It's not a corporeal issue. It's a spiritual issue, which is my soul. So who else in that 10 or anywhere else in this planet would be experiencing the same, or has that part of my soul that it was actually experiencing the same reshimo, the same spiritual experience that I could connect with, and then piece those two pieces together. And then, because isn't that the point? Is for our souls to connect, so we all go back together? Is there a way to figure out how if I have if I'm dealing with some reshimo, some spiritual experience, some memory, is there anyone else that could like connect to that and help to merge, and then I could overcome it in that way on a spiritual level? Does that make sense?
Well, that would be like saying, if I'm in quicksand, I should look for somebody else in quicksand, and maybe we can save each other. It's like, no, you look for someone who's outside of the quicksand to save you. You don't need to look for someone with the same rishimo. You need to look you need to look for someone who's not in that rishimo, and it'll probably be anybody else. I doubt that maybe two people on Earth experience the same state, but I doubt it. The idea is that we all go through the same states, but we experience them differently, precisely because of our corporeal differences. So when we experience a certain state, the way we approach it will be different. So it's still the same states. Everyone goes through the same states, but the experience of that state will be different. So someone might go through one state in a day, and the other person will go through the exact same state in a minute. They're going through the same state, but the speed is different. And so when it's longer, that's when we really need the friends to just help us close that down and take us out of the confusion and clean our concepts. What normally will happen is that we'll have some concept and we haven't cleaned it, and we put it aside, and then it comes back even harder. And we still put it aside, and then it comes back even harder. And basically when it hits us without, we can't seem to get rid of it anymore, that's where we really need the environment to able to, help us clean it. And, even if not solve it, but put it aside so you can deal with it when it's on the side and not deal with it when it's right in front of you. Because remember, these states are very emotional. So it's not like, oh, I'll just have a thought and I'll go to a friend and figure it out. It's like, no, you're engulfed in it. You're in it. You don't even feel you're in it. It's like you only feel you're wet when you leave the water. So think of, going into a pool. You don't feel you're wet. You need somebody else to tell you, by the way, you're in the pool for too long. Get out. And that's what the friends are for. That's why the environment is crucial on this path.
So if we're in the state, and according to the first commandment, the first two fears are just totally irrational. They deal with the afterlife and this life and the irrational. It's the third fear that's really key. It's the one about, am I doing enough for the Creator? So if I'm having this conflict, or if I experience some reshimo that is really holding me back, but I start to think in terms of that fear of the Creator, which is not I'm afraid of being punished, but am I doing enough for the Creator? Shouldn't that excel me and lift me out of it at a faster pace? I mean, isn't that what this whole path is about? It's about going through these experiences at an accelerated speed so that we don't sit back. We're not like everyone else on the path of pain and and reward. And isn't that one way to like overcome it? If I can't connect to the friends, I go right to the Creator, or am I just stuck? I can't ever get to the Creator without going through the friends.
The fear, if you have a fear of something, there's one thing to just have a fear. Let's say, for example, you have a fear of your house burning down, right? The solution for that would be to put preventive measures in your house to be able to, control the fire, right? Or learn how to deal with fire when you're turning on the stove. If the oil's burning, don't put it on the floor. It'll throw right into your face. We've heard these stories. So there's all different preventive measures that we do when we have a fear. So when you have a fear of plateau, invest in the society. That is the solution for that fear. So not just let the fear freeze you of like, oh, I'm scared to advance. No, yes, you're scared to advance. Invest. If you invest accordingly, that's the effort you need to do. You invest in the society. You buy the books. You have them next to you. You get yourself used to routine of watching the lessons, whether you like it or not. You just watch them because I watch them. That's my daily routine. And it's not like, well, I feel that the lesson's not so important right now. It's like, no, I do it because it's my routine.
Right.
And you need that routine. And the same thing with, talking with friends. You don't just call a friend when you haven't talked to them for a year and say, oh, I'm in a descent. Can you help me out? It's like, who are you? Do I remember your name even? Like, you need to have that investment when you're in an ascent in order to, for them to save you when you're in a descent.
Right. I think what maybe I'm not clarifying. I want to be able to get into the state where I'm saying, okay, my only fear that's really valid is that, am I doing enough for the Creator? So when I think about that, I say, what does that mean? Well, am I bestowing to the Creator? Well, I've thought about this a lot. I said, how do you bestow to the the omnipotent, all-knowing, all-powerful, creator whose essence I can't even like define? How do I even, start? Where do I even start? But okay, so I start on my low level, So I wake up in the morning and I say, everything I'm due today, I give back to you, so I'll do my best, right? And from that, I would obtain, I would think, even if my efforts are even meager and I fail, it doesn't matter to the creator really, because it's just the fact that I'm bestowing. I mean, any amount of attention to the creator is considered bestowal. I couldn't imagine how much or how little would make a difference, but to the creator, it's enough, I would think. So if my fear is, to how much, I mean, if that's the only valid fear in the first commandment, is to how much do I, am I giving to the creator? Am I, acknowledging? And then I would think that would be the power. It would be a very powerful place to be in. And even a Reshimo couldn't even hold me back at that point. And I could even probably get into a group of 10. And if I'm constantly in that state, just pull everybody closer to that, to the creator or to correction.
I'd say a few things. Number one, the creator's not outside of you. The creator's in you. And the creator's not a person. He's not someone you have to make happy, like I'm bestowing
Right.
to the creator. Bestowing to the creator means advancing towards the creator, advancing towards adhesion with him. So it's not like, I did an effort and I'm sure he's happy with it. It's like, there's no one to be happy with your effort but you. So bestowing to the creator means going towards him, and increasing going towards your future state. And advancing faster to it. So it's not like, there's me, there's the creator, and I hope the creator's happy with what I'm doing. It's like, no, the creator is in me. I want to fully realize that I'm the creator. And in order to fully realize I'm the creator, I need to, learn more, how he operates through me and reach adhesion with him. So the fear of bestowing to the creator is fear to plateau. And it's fear of me to plateau. A friend might plateau, that's not the fear. So if I have a fear for my friend to plateau, that's not the right fear. The fear is always talking about yourself plateauing. And you're investing in the environment in order so that you won't plateau. By doing that, you're also going to invest in them so that they won't plateau. But you could say it's a result. You start with yourself. I don't want to plateau. I invest in the environment so I won't plateau. The advantage of investing in the environment, it'll also probably help them. But it could be that your friends will plateau for years, even though you're investing in them, and that's okay as well, because each person will only advance as much as they can handle it. So it doesn't mean if your friend plateaus, that's a bad thing. It should only be a bad thing for you, because if you want to advance, you want to go through the phases as quick as possible and not, take your time. But if somebody else plateaus, you don't know what their state is. Maybe they just can't handle the tension. Maybe they haven't invested enough in their environment, because just because you're investing in them doesn't mean that they get that investment directly. It depends on how much they connect. It's a two-way street. So you might be investing emotionally heavily with friends for a long time. They don't do that investment, and they don't get it until they start investing as well. So you don't plateau because you're investing in the environment and it comes back to you. But they're not investing, so they plateau for a long time. So the fear is always about self. You want to become the creator. Not that you want your friends to become the creator. By me become the creator, I need to invest in the friends becoming the creator as well. But you always need the environment to be that sandwich in the middle. I start with myself first, I end with myself, and have the environment in between. And that also provides that tension. Because if you're just like, oh, I'll just help the environment, you've lost that tension either. And you're just like, oh, I'll just help myself, you've lost that tension as well. It's the constant breathing in, breathing out. I'm investing in the friends in order to help myself. I'm investing in the environment to help myself. I'm cutting the vegetables in the kitchen in order to help myself. I'm joining the sessions, I'm moderating, I'm cleaning concepts in order to help myself. And you've got to constantly do this back and forth.
Right. Go ahead.
And it's to save yourself from yourself in those moments where you are blindsided, because you truly do believe yourself at that time when you have slipped, and you sound very intelligent and logical, and you feel like you have just opened up something new. And so it's really to also save yourself from yourself. That's really it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to satisfy the creator. I mean, I could go crazy thinking, oh, did I do enough? Oh, is that good? Am I going to get a reward? I mean, that's not what being on this path is about. But it is about internalizing power. I mean, this is really what we want. We want to internalize all this power and then to be able to just like bestow it, bestow. So I think that, if I'm constantly focused on even that alone is expecting something. I'm going to do this work so I can internalize and create a vessel, fill it with light, internalize it. Now I have that to use. I got more power. I mean, I really am egotistically, my spiritual ego was looking for some fulfillment there, even though I'm not sitting there looking for reward and pleasure from the creator. I am still internalized and trying to create a sense of power in me so I can grow spiritually, right? I mean, am I in the mark here? I mean, I'm not looking at it from a child's perspective where, I'm walking around in a state of, reward, action and reward, etc. I'm looking really to internalize a more mature sense of power and focus.
I would say at the end of the day, each person decides what environment he needs and what where he wants to invest in. Some people don't have physical groups, so they can invest in virtual groups. Some people have physical groups, so they can invest in their physical groups. It says the creator brings you to the right place and you have to just take it. So everyone is given their environment that they need to invest in, and they have to invest in it to what they seem is appropriate. No one can come to you and say, your problem is you're not enough in the group, you're not moderating, you're not going to advance. Like, no one can do that. No one can come to you and tell you that you're not investing enough. That is your choice. And that's why if you see a friend plateauing, he's not the reason why you're not advancing. And it's very important to not get into that blame game of thinking, oh, if they plateau, that's the reason I'm not advancing. No, the reason you're not advancing is because you don't want to advance. And it doesn't matter where the environment is, you can advance, independently of that by investing in the environment. Yes, Renee. Navina.
Yeah, that's fine. The very first part of the reading, I think the very first sentence, it's a sentence about God created, and then this is the first fear. If I'm remembering it right from the text when you were reading, I do not understand that at all. Can we talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I'll screen share again, so we can go over the Zohar portion again. I'll give it more things. So so therefore it's written in the beginning, signifying fear. We'll talk about it in a second. The Creator created the heavens and the earth. So the idea, there's two creators in the beginning part of the Torah. The first one is the point in the heart when it's revealed in us. So you've got in the beginning is when you could say you're born into this world. You go through phase one, and then you get your point in the heart. That's the Creator, because it's your future creator. It's like it's a point. It's a lack that I'm not the creator. And then you go through the heavens and the earth, which means bestowal, heavens, and the earth, the ego. Right? Just a sec. And then it says, forever transgresses here, which he feels that he's in that state. He transgresses all the Torah mitzvahs. So, he feels that he can't use the Torah and mitzvahs correctly. And his punishment, right? So punishment is actually advancement, is the evil scourge, the evil fear that whips him. Okay? That means he feels he's evil, and he has a fear, and that whips him. All right? And then he's going to go through these phases. So the phases are the words and the earth. So it's my will to receive. He's going to go through these 4 phases. Was unformed, right? So it starts with unformed because it was unformed. Then it goes through chaotic, right? Then it goes through darkness was upon the face of the deep, which means that the deep is considered the shells. So I feel that I'm faced by this darkness, this deep, this chasm in front of me, and that's the darkness. And then and the spirit of the creator is already passing the barrier. So you've got basically 13 words between the first creator and the second creator. So you've got the first creator is the point in the heart. You've got the second creator is passing the barrier. And that is what you're going through, right? And that refers to the 4 punishments of the wicked. I'm wicked. If I'm before the barrier, I feel that I'm in that wicked stage, and I'm going to go through these 4 corrections, these 4 punishments. Punishment is not just to punish you because you're bad. Punishment is also to correct you. When we punish our children, It's not actually to, give them something bad because we hate them. It's because we want to correct them. The punishment is the correction. If I don't punish my child, how will he ever learn that something's bad and correct his behavior accordingly? And then 196 already talks about the more details in it. So without form, which is unformed, refers to strangulation. I feel that I'm strangled. I'm not having the air. I don't have the ol chasadim. I don't have the power, the internal power that I need. Then you've got chaotic, refers to stoning, the stones that fall into the great deep to punish the sinners. Again, the deep is always the shells, right? And the idea is that I need stones which are discernments. Stone is even, and it's like the word havanot, which are discernments, understandings that will help me get through that. And then I get through darkness, which signifies burning, the fire that falls upon the heads of the wicked to burn them down. I feel that fire. It's not talking about I see somebody else burning in flames. It's talking about me going through that state of that burning desire of why am I not there? And then you've got the spirit of the Creator, refers to beheading. I feel that I have no head. When you behead someone, they have no head. They don't have that calculation to move on to the next phase, to pass the spiritual barrier. So you can see how, if you look at this on and this is how most people do it, they read it and they're like, oh, 4 punishments, who would want to go through that? And it immediately pushes them away. And it's purposely written like that to deal with, that sort of innate fear of, I don't want to do something wrong. It's like, if you want to advance, you don't mind going through anything needed to actually get there. And that's what it's referring to, and that's why it's encoded this way. Any final things before we wrap this up?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Robin, did you want to talk?
No, go ahead.
I just put in the chat, what is the Kabbalistic comparison of land versus earth, or association or lack thereof?
I don't understand the question. Can you repeat it?
Land is spoken of and earth is spoken of, and they are used in different places. And so no worries if you can't answer. I always get the answer. It's just I have to put it in a fertile ground for it to come to me. Thank you.
They're both talking about the will to receive, but I don't remember the distinction between the words themselves. Land in Hebrew is eretz, which is ratzon, and earth is normally adamah, which is from the word domem, which is like the still degree. But again, you have to have it in context. You have to look at the context that it's talking about. Robin, you wanted to say something?
I just want to say that was just brilliant. That Zohar passage and your explanation, it's just alive with meaning and movement and ideas and wisdom. It's incredible. I just was very moved by it in all kinds of ways, not just emotionally, but intellectually.
You can see how it really helps when you read these things talking about you and that somebody went through it. So if they're talking about the 4 punishments, not that they watched, a crucifixion or watched an execution. They went through these states themselves. So how could they write about it if they died? No one ever writes, "I'm dead." So it's not like, well, I got beheaded and they threw my head down the ground and I got beheaded. No one writes that. So if they went through it, they probably survived the beheading. So it helps a lot looking at these stuff that they're going through the states. They're not just like, giving knowledge out. Oh, the sun's like this and Mercury is like that and planet Jupiter is like that. It's like, have you ever been on Jupiter? It's like, no, that's called science. I don't have to be on Jupiter to talk about it. The Kabbalist says, no. Unless you've been on Jupiter, don't talk about Jupiter. Unless you've been on Mars, don't talk about Mars. So it really helps to understand that these are states they've gone through. and not that they're looking at a third party and saying, you see what happens when the evil inclination takes you over? You know, he takes over your house. It's like, no, that's what you go through.
No, I was just saying, when you said people don't write about being dead, I think, and my mind's like, okay, how do I write about that?
Exactly, you can't. You know, once your perception is, you know, once your reality or your perception is dead, you know, you can't write anymore. So, you know, even people that have gone through these, you know, near-death experiences, that's why it's called near-death experience. They haven't actually died. No one dies and comes back. They've had a near-death experience and they come back and write about it because they're actually still alive, even though it looks externally like they're dead. Or they might even feel that they, you know, had that moment of, you know, being turned off, but then being turned on again, so they can write about it. But, you know, no one can write about it if it's actually happened totally. And especially, you know, how could people go through 4 different punishments, one after each other? It's like, I think if you're strangled to death, you're probably dead, and you wouldn't mind too much being stoned to death after you're dead. And if, let's say, you still were alive after you were strangled, so wouldn't the stoning kill you? And if so, wouldn't the, you know, the fire is, you know, where the burning is where they, you know, put molten, you know, liquid through your mouth. I think that would kill you. So you wouldn't mind if you were beheaded afterwards. So, but we don't think of this rationally. So we read this and like, oh, I don't want to go through these stages. It's like, it's purposely to push those kind of people away. The thing is, in this generation, we can actually share with each other. That's what it says that in, you know, the final generation, we're going to, you know, it says we're going to stop, teach each other, know the Lord, because everyone will know the Lord, from the, you know, the biggest to the smallest. But it's precisely because we have taught each other. So it's saying, by teaching each other, know the Lord, then we can reach that phase of that everyone knows the Lord, from the biggest to the smallest. And so that's exactly what we're doing in these kind of sessions. We're cleaning concepts. We're sharing discernments that we've had in order to help other people, because each person will get different discernments on each phase he goes through. So by sharing it, we get a much bigger picture. It's like going on a holiday with multiple people. You know, you won't see everything. You're still going on the same path. You're still going on the same, walking path, but everyone will see something different. And by sharing with each other, you can actually build a bigger picture of, what you're actually going to experience.
Or you may have seen it and it just slightly lodged in there and you didn't discern it so well. And then when someone else discerned that portion very detailed, they say it, and then it triggers in you, oh, I actually, I did kind of, yes. So
it allows you to focus. It allows you to focus on something you didn't focus beforehand, but you did see it. I agree. All right, I think we'll end this session. Thank you very much, everyone. That was really, really good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sakai.
Thank you, friends.